for tonight while we're free. Touch the sky. Tonight we're coming alive.
So much turkey. Welcome everybody to Esports Canada TV episode number 55. I'm your host at Coin in the Net. You can follow me on Twitter because now I'm the only host. Just kidding. Mike Daniels was late joining us, so now I gotta fix the screen regions. Thanks for that, Mike. You make my job easier every week.
I'm gonna keep my mouth shut about the amount of notice I got to this this show.
It was mentioned to you several minutes ago, so come on.
Several minutes ago.
You're making a real hard case for yourself to be the new co-host here.
Well, if somebody would tell me I am the new co-host, I'll show up every Monday.
Can you handle that responsibility?
I think I could. I'll try. I'll give it my best.
That's all we ask here at ESCTV.
Your best. Winners always. What is it? What is the quote from The Rock? Nicolas Cage and Sean Connery. Losers always complain about their best. Winners
go home and bang like the cheerleader or something.
Yeah, the prom queen or something like that. Yeah.
I forgot to turn on my light, so I got some hard shadows right now. I can't do that. One second.
Oh.
There we go. So tonight is a special episode, both because it's our Thanksgiving episode, so it's a show stuffed with good content. Mostly the fighting game community, because there are some pretty big events coming up that we do want to talk about, and what better people to have on the show to talk about said fighting game events than our East Coast, the real East Coast correspondent, Mike Daniels, and of course our Toronto Central correspondent, Vince Hui.
You still can't do that.
Vince, I know we spent about 45 minutes on the show last time discussing exactly how it is I pronounce it. You're still muted, by the way. I can see you trying to rip into me. Nope, you're still muted. There you go. There you go. There you go. You're good.
Yeah, I should definitely charge you every time you get it wrong.
Remind me one more time.
It's Vince Hui.
Hui.
Yeah.
I feel like that wasn't.
That time. I don't have to charge you that time.
I feel like that wasn't at all what you told me last time.
Well, I mean, I gotta make.
I'm gonna go back and watch episode whatever it was, like 25, and I'm gonna fact check that. I'm gonna get Tony Tran on that. So, guys, a lot of big fighting game events coming up. One specifically in your area, Vince. So we wanted to bring you on to talk about that. You saw it here at the intro to the show, the East Coast Championships.
Yeah, so we're going to be doing the Canada East Coast Championships this weekend here in Toronto, Ontario, and it's going to be a real good event. We're actually extending our tournament kind of unofficially to a third day on Friday. We're going to actually do teams on Friday this year. A lot of people have been asking that for a number of years. It's something that the Toronto community as a whole used to do at our major tournaments. As things got bigger, we ran out of time, basically. So teams have been axed for the last couple of years, but we're bringing it back. We're going to be running that at ANC on the Friday night. So we're going to get the 3v3 teams for Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and Street Fighter 4 Arcade Edition. And that's going to be real exciting. Teams are always it's a really good. You get a really good mix of players, and the team dynamic really mixes it up really well. Because I mean, especially with Street Fighter 4, you get a lot of strange matchups. You get bad matchups, good matchups. Not so much Ultimate Marvel, but it always makes it a little bit more interesting.
Fantastic. And how long has the East Coast Championships been going on?
Well, it used to be we used to run in our fall time frame the T tournament, which was traditionally Toronto's major. As you guys know, a couple years ago we started doing Toryuken, which became our Evolution qualifier for the World Championship. So that was it. Kind of when Toronto top tiers came into being, we said, hey, you know what? It's like there's a lot of opportunities out there. So we started Toryuken, and that kind of split our majors into two time frames. So we had one in spring summer, and now we have one in fall winter, which is now renamed Canada East Coast Championships. So give you a little backstory behind that. This tournament used to be called the T tournament. And the T tournament traditionally has been community run, but the last couple of years, Toronto Top Tiers has been kind of running it in-house. So we decided, hey, you know what? Let's respect the community aspect of that and kind of shed that the T tournament name, shed that skin, and really start brand new with the Canadian East Coast Championships as something that's a Toronto Top Tiers in-house tournament, and really doing different things. I think we've kind of grown out of that shell of the old way of doing things. So I think it's a really good time to kind of freshen up, get a new name out there, and really start building it back up from scratch.
Now, you said Toryuken was the EVO qualifier, and this is
Yes.
the East Coast Championships. Is there a Canadian Championships that this feeds into, or another kind of major tournament that this is a qualifier for?
No, this is kind of it's been our yearly tournament here in Toronto. It's always kind of traditionally been the biggest next to Canada Cup, which came around a couple years ago. Prior to that, the T tournament was the biggest, one of the biggest, if not the biggest, fighting game tournament in Canada for a long time. We ran it back to back with MAT, which is the Montreal Annual Tournament, which is probably at the time was the second biggest tournament, if not competing for the biggest tournament in Canada, pre-Canada Cup. So. It's not really part of a series. It's just an annual tradition for us.
Fantastic. And in terms of prizes and things outside of the tournament, I know Mike was just a Canada Cup, and he said even if you don't make it to the actual tournament, make it to the after party. Either I know there's a ton of cash to win. Is there other things going on the whole weekend?
Traditionally, Toronto tournaments, we kind of keep it pretty cut and dry. We like to focus a lot more on the competitive side of things. We got huge pot bonuses as well. We got $400 we got $500 bonus in arcade sticks for Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and Street Fighter 4, and of course there's a lot of other prizes. You can check them out on the TorontoTopTiers.com site. But yeah, it's going to be real exciting. Really, I think CECC is going to be where we see a lot of who's the best in the region. And traditionally, the T tournament has been. We've always had American visitors. We do this time as well. But traditionally, it's really a place for the local heroes to shine. Yeah. And that's the great thing about the fighting game scene is that you never know who's going to win until it happens, right? So that's the most exciting thing. I think we're going to see a lot of young guys come out of the blue this year, and really show us what they're all made of.
And how many competitors are you expecting overall?
We're expecting probably close to at least 100 competitors for Street Fighter 4 and Ultimate Marvel. We've got a lot of other games, but they're a little bit smaller, but the level of competition is the best you're going to get in Canada, I think.
And is there a returning champion from last year who's expected to take it again, or is it pretty much up for grabs?
I think this year it's pretty much up for grabs. Just looking at the lineup of players that we have visiting from the U.S., we've got, just to give you a short list here, I believe Ray is coming. Actually, I was going to make a joke. This is kind of the coming out of retirement tournament. We got some interesting guests. We got, of course, Ray returning, fantastic Marvel player. We have Noel Brown, who's going to make it out. And strangely enough, we're gonna get if you guys have a little bit of fighting game background, FC Jago is
He
coming
still
back from the
exists?
States. Sorry.
He still exists.
He's still alive, so he's coming up. So he's kind of coming out of retirement, and of course, K. Brad recently announced his retirement, but he's actually going to come out and compete as well. So it's going to be interesting, but we're going to, of course, have a lot of our local heroes coming out. Definitely looking forward to seeing Montreal play Arcade Edition again, of course. The obvious names, Chirithi and Snafu, arguably the two best Street Fighter 4 players Canada has to offer. And it's always really great to watch Chirithi play. He took out Team USA in the Canada Cup team tournament. That was a big win, and you know what? It sucks I wasn't able to be there.
Now, I know, at least in Atlantic Canada, I've been to a couple of the majors we have here, and it seems to always be kind of the same top talent that makes it to, you know, the Final Four, the round of 8. Do you find, even with your weeklies in these majors, that it's kind of the same top-heavy tournaments that you're posting like week to week, or do you find talents coming? I mean, you said people are coming from the States, from Montreal, or do you find it's pretty much random every time?
Is that a question for Mike? Sorry, I missed that.
Oh, no, for you. Sorry.
Okay.
I was just saying, is it like Atlantic Canada, where it is the same sort of Psychic Steve and?
Well, you know what, the great thing about the majors here in Toronto is that, you know, we do have a really good mix of talent. We always have talent that comes out of the blue. Earlier on this year at Toryukin, we all watched the Doctor, the disgruntled Goa, take out IFC Yipes. That was amazing, and I think a lot of people were betting on that to see Goa win, and that was really good because that was definitely what we would consider an upset. Goa's a fantastic player. If you're from Canada, if you watch any of the Toronto screams, you'll see him. You know he's really good. But you know, it's a lot of players that are going to put their foundation down and say, "Hey, you know what? I exist. I'm really good, and you better watch out." And that's really what it comes down to with these majors, is really putting out where you stand on the ladder compared to everyone else. But you're going to see the usual, you know, the guys that win the local tournaments come out. They're all going to place really well. There definitely, I think, is a gap between being the local hero and being the best in whatever your region is, and then even from there, a gap being the best between the best in your region and the best in the country, and even from there worldwide. There is definitely a large skill gap, and I think any of these majors is a really good indicator of where everyone stands.
Fantastic. And Mike, were any of these local Toronto heroes, did they venture out to Canada Cup at all?
Yeah, Chirithi, like Vince said, was there. There was a lot of players from Calgary and the West that went to Canada Cup. Chirithi, I'm trying to think of who else from the eastern part of Canada would have been at Canada Cup other than Chirithi. I think
there were a few small-time names heading out to Canada Cup, but I don't think anyone that is a local hero here in Toronto managed to make it out. But I know some of the younger guys, some of the less experienced guys, did go out to Canada Cup and did fairly well.
Yeah, I would agree with Vince. I didn't recognize too many of the people from the East Coast other than Chirithi and a couple of the big names, but Vince would know them better than I would.
And Vince, speaking of people doing well, I always see your name popping up in the weeklies when you post, you know, who placed where, and I see your name somewhere near the top half. Will you be participating at all, or are you going to stick to running the stream?
Yeah, actually, this year I'm not running the stream this year.
Oh, okay.
So as you guys know, I've been kind of taking a break last year at Tori. You can thank God for Mike Daniels here saving my life. I'm taking a little bit of a break, so I haven't really been too involved this year with CECC. It's kind of been Russell's show, so I'm actually being delegated to do commentary for Street Fighter 4,
Nice.
And I'll actually be competing in Street Fighter 4, at least only Street Fighter 4 for now. I haven't decided, but I've been training and doing the local tournaments and joining and getting top 8. I wouldn't, not where I want to be. But given the time and the amount of time I'm putting in, it's like I'm happy with where I am, but it can always be better. But I'm definitely competing this year, which is going to be a big change for me. I haven't competed in a major tournament in Canada in the last 2 years, so.
Oh, nice.
So I hope I can come out. I hope I can come out as an old man and ruin some lives, but
Teach those young whippersnappers how it's done, right?
Yeah.
it's like the young guys see me play, they're like, "Who does that?" And I'm like, "Yeah." It's like nobody new does that because it's like everyone thinks they can block it, but they can't. Old dogs got tricks too. Gotta watch out.
Vince, I just kind of want to open up the scope to the entire world of fighting games. I find fighting games are kind of fractured off from the rest of esports, where esports has always welcomed, whatever the latest FPS game is. Dota came out, sweet, come and join DreamHack, but I don't really see any representation at DreamHack or MLGs or IEMs or any of these kind of major esports tournaments for a lot of different fighting games. Do you think that fighting games want to be in these other kind of majors around the world, or do things like Evo and Toryuken and all these fighting game majors, is that sufficient?
I'd say it's hard to say. I mean, I personally can speak for myself. I think that the fighting game community really needs to break out of its shell. And I mean, we all love these grassroots events. Evo is still very grassroots, but I think that we really need to open up our possibilities and look at some of these bigger tournaments and say, hey, it's like you guys got a lot of hype with StarCraft, League of Legends, Dota, and FPS, CS:GO. I love CS:GO, by the way. But no, I think that traditionally the fighting game community and its organizers have rightfully been a little short-sighted with the esports world. I mean, I don't want to, make specific examples, but I mean, the fighting game community has been burned a few times. So I think there's a lot of trying to let go of that. And the esports structure in general is very different from the way we do our fighting game tournaments today. And I think that's a challenge for both the fighting game community and the corporate esports world to really sit down together as a group and take a look at that and say, hey, how can we make this work? I mean, really the closest you have to what I would consider a true esports style training camp, even for just the players, is EG. I mean, you have Justin Wong, Flo, those guys play 8 hours a day. That's very much like how esports teams work. They play 8 hours a day. They get, they have their team houses for some of the bigger esports. And I think the fighting game community as a whole is just not structured that way today. I think you have the odd guys who put in extreme amounts of time to get good. The guys like Chris G, Justin Wong, Filipino Champ, and those guys are the guys that are going places, right? You look, Justin Wong has been sponsored by Evil Geniuses for an extremely long time at this point, and I think that you need to find more people who are looking beyond just playing. I think that's one of the major obstacles to the fighting game community moving into more of an esports atmosphere is that you get a lot of players who are committed tournament players, but they're still not at that level where I'm practicing 8 hours a day. They might go, I'm going to play casuals for a couple hours or 4 hours and come up with some tech. But I think it's a very stark difference between the professional esports world and the way they train and the way that fighting game players train today.
Now, I always get asked this question when I'm kind of talking about esports, both with people within esports and people on the outside looking to wonder, what's it all about. But they always ask me, where do you see esports in 5 years, 10 years? What's the next step? What does esports need to be doing to make it to that next level? And people think, we need to be on TV, we need to have bigger events, we need grassroots things. There's a whole different bunch of different options. What do you think it is for fighting games?
Really, it's kind of funny. I think the FGC world needs to let go a little bit of their grassroots side, and I think from that perspective as well. I mean, you could say vice versa. I think the esports world needs to really grow their grassroots side. I think that we have two different philosophies that are good in their own ways, and I think if we can, from both sides to find, for the esports world to find the grassroots side, and for the fighting game side to find their esports corporate side, I think that is going to be the biggest step.
I think Vince makes a really good point. I think that's like the best way to say it, is that I think both communities have to learn from each other, and I think he put it perfectly. FGC have to let go of some of the community grassroots old school mentality and kind of embrace, corporate world sponsorship and things like that, whereas esports kind of has to learn that you can do things outside of Blizzard, Valve, and Riot.
Yeah,
and if it's...
No, go ahead.
Yeah, it's just I think he makes a really good point. I mean, obviously, most people know my opinions on this, and I work directly on trying to merge the two together since, me and you have worked on things like Fredericton Gaming Expo and things like that. I feel strongly that eventually we all have to be under one tent. It's just that the kind of conflicts and obstacles we have to overcome to do that, I think, you have to recognize them.
Yeah, the fighting game community has got to stop being so ghetto.
Yeah, I agree. And that's the nicest way to put it.
That was going to be kind of my comparison, and I mean, without offending anyone, it seems to me like fighting game community is that backroom poker game with your friends, and you're smoking cigars and drinking beers, and there's money on the table, and there's good players and bad players, and it's still fun and it's organized and everything. But then you have esports seems to be the World Series of poker, where it's on TV and there's named people, and it's both of them have their pros and cons, so it's hard to say, which one is better. They're both extremely fun, but I think one of them clearly has a more wider appeal.
I think that's a fantastic way to look at it. It's definitely just to look at the poker world. I mean, anybody can play poker. That's what you want. You want to have games where anybody can play League of Legends. Anybody can play StarCraft. You can play in your basement at home. Anybody can play fighting games. But at the same time, you want to have that field where you can go and prove yourself in a big tournament and have that corporate sponsorship or that corporate support where, hey, you know what, everyone benefits. And I think that's, like Mike said, I think that's the best way to put it, is just, we've got two different ways to grow. Fighting games community needs to, clean itself up a little bit. Maybe that's a bad way of putting it, but they need to have a little bit more head for the corporate world and making headway there. And the esports world, definitely, I think the esports world suffers from a lack of grassroots events.
Yeah, 100%.
And part of it is because, I mean, running esports events, like, the money that needs to go into that is it's ridiculous. I mean, you got to get, like, even if you're just doing League of Legends, like, you need 10 computers plus the guy that needs to stream, the observer. So it's a lot of work.
Yeah. How is the developer and publisher support for these different games? Like, are Capcom, are these people involved at all with kind of the major tournaments?
It's really a changing environment now. I think we're starting to see a lot more developer support, just on the tournament front. I mean, we got Capcom running the Capcom Cup this year. They ran a big event last year. And I'm told that the Capcom specifically wants to get more involved with the tournament scene directly. You do get a lot of support from definitely a lot of the smaller developers. I know Atlas is very much involved with their tournament scene. Namco is very much involved, but I still think there's a way to go in terms of being directly involved with the tournaments and the tournament organizers, and that's part of it, right? It's the part of the growing pain with that is that you have corporate entities having to trust grassroots operations to get stuff done, and that's a hard reality because that's a lot of trust, right? So I mean, the grassroots guys are great, they know what they're doing, but I mean, a lot of people don't have that head for how things work in the corporate world, and the same thing is, like, the corporate world has a hard time dealing with the grassroots because there's so many things that we do that just wouldn't fly.
Yeah, I was just thinking, because, I mean, if you look at, the two biggest video game tournaments in the world right now are the International and LCS for League, and they're both run by the developers, by the publisher, right? And so it's good because you have all this money and they're going to do a crazy good job with the presentation and everything's going to run smoothly. People are going to get paid, because they're the people creating this game. But at the same time, I mean, I had Four Court Jester on last week talking about League and saying it's great that Riot does all this, but they have a stranglehold where whatever they say goes because they run the biggest tournament in town. If you're not going to play by the rules, well, good luck having a career in League of Legends. You can't play in the big tournament. So, I mean, it would be nice for Capcom and people like that to step up and run massive tournaments, but then at the same time, you're losing some of that kind of mentality that comes along with grassroots.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest obstacle from the fighting games community's point of view is that there's a lot of control issues. Mm-hmm. Some people just can't be controlled. Right? So, and you know what? It goes both ways. I mean, control is great in terms of getting your production values up and whatnot. But I think at the same time, it really limits your players in a way. So it's as with everything, it's 50-50. You give some, you take some. I think we eventually will find that happy medium. I think it's just going to be an issue of time. But the future is bright. I mean, I think League and Dota are really teaching the rest of the esports world how to get it done. Even like just Dota, it's like a lot of the money came from those little micro purchases that they have. I'm not too familiar, but like that's huge. The amount of prize money, it was insane, and the production value behind the international was amazing. I don't watch Dota, but like I tuned in and I'm just like, this is the future. Yep. And this is where we all need to be. And I think that a lot of the fighting game developers are starting to see that. I think one of the developers that's really leading the way is Namco. They are really throwing a lot of stuff out there to test the waters. They just put out Tekken Revolution, I think, which is really interesting because it's not a full-fledged game. And it definitely got a lot of features where you buy in. Yeah. So I think that's a really interesting model. I think it's going to take them time to get it to like the level of Dota. I think Valve really has a great way of kind of giving back, and I'm really happy that they're doing it with Counter-Strike with the skins. I think that's going to really. I think the next year we're going to see. I'm really excited to see where Counter-Strike goes with that because I think that structure is really good, and it's worked for Dota. League, of course, does a really good job with that, and the only problem with League is that they only do League.
Yep. Yeah, I think... Go ahead.
Well, I think Vince is right. I think the fighting game community and fighting game developers can take a cue from Valve, because I guarantee you, if Capcom, for example, took the Valve route and said... you have to pay for skins or costumes for Ryu and Ken and Blanca and Dalsum, and then 50% of the money will go to Capcom, and then 50% of it will go to EVO or go to Capcom Cup prize pools or whatever it may be. People would buy the costumes like mad. I mean, Counter-Strike did it, and then suddenly we have a $250,000 prize pool at DreamHack for Counter-Strike, which is like 10 times what it's ever been, and it happened in like 3 months. Yeah, like if Capcom or Atlas or Namco did something like that and like said, look, buy the costumes, 50 of it will go to us and 50 of it will go to prize pools at a tournament, and we'll, you know what I mean? I think it would take off like mad. It would be crazy.
I can only speak for myself. I have guilty pleasure. I love those cross-Tekken costumes, even though
exactly. Yeah, so if they did something like that, I mean, it would just be obscene how much the community would support it, and just to know where it's going. And they have a lot to learn from that kind of thing. I mean, there's a reason why Blizzard and Valve are where they are. They were ahead of everybody on that kind of stuff long before most companies were, right? So
I think
I'm just going to put this out there, Mike. Can you imagine BlazBlue with costumes that you could buy?
Yeah, it would be insane, dude. It'd be so crazy. Like, you get all of the anime-loving, waifu-loving people dressing up their favorite anime girls. You'd make so much money. It'd be unbelievable. Like, it'd be unbelievable.
See, I think CSGO is going to see a bit of a revival after the Steam box comes out. And people can sit in the living room with a controller and play CSGO. I think that'll be huge. For all of the kids.
That's going to be really interesting.
For all the kids that play on like consoles right now, all the Call of Duty people, etc., all the Halo kids, like.
Except all the Halo kids in Call of Duty aren't good enough to play Counter-Strike. Oh, I'm just throwing it out there.
They'll get good. They'll still play.
Yeah, they'll get
though.
good. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. But
Yeah. So it's going to be really interesting. The next, I mean, I'm starting to see a lot of changes, especially in the fighting game side from the developers. They're starting to say, hey, we're looking at these business models that, Riot's got or Valve's got with their games, and how can we apply that? And I think one of the big things I'm really liking is that a lot of these companies are opening up to the PC world. I think they're starting to realize that Steam is an absolute, and piece of the PC digital distribution world is an absolutely a viable place to go, and that's a market that traditionally fighters have not been in for a long time. So,
how is the involvement with publishers and developers in the creation of like patches and when the game's actually being created? Like when StarCraft Heart of the Swarm is coming out, they actually brought in some of the top pros from all over the world and let them play the game and to get feedback and say, hey, is this working? What would you like to see? That sort of thing. Is there anything like that when new games or patches are being developed?
No, absolutely. I'm going to say right off the bat, NetherRealm Studios with Injustice and Mortal Kombat has kind of led the way with that mentality. They constantly have top fighting game players in their studios doing patches for their games, and they get patches fairly often. I think they patch like every other month, maybe even less than that. So they've got a lot of people in there testing. Capcom is doing it as well. They've got Combo Fiend heading up Ultra Street Fighter 4 with the development team behind that as well. And another big one, I think it's gonna have a really good resurgence provided people can get behind it and they can get the people to enjoy the game, because I definitely do the few times I play. Killer Instinct is going to be really interesting on the Xbox One. I think that has a huge mountain to climb thanks to Microsoft, but the team behind it is literally 100% all top fighting game players. I think they've got Maximilian looking at it. He's not really a top player, but they've got Filthy Rich, formerly of Namco Bandai, who managed the Tekken community, being as a community manager for Killer Instinct. I know they've got various top players playing it. I think Mad Catz Ryan Hart has been very vocal about Killer Instinct being a good game. So I think that's it's fairly normal at this point in time for most fighting game titles to have top players from the competitive circuit be a part of the testing team.
Yeah, Injustice was the one I was thinking about because that's the one I always see updating on a pretty regular basis, and I know from attending Fight for Infinity and other tournaments that Mike's held that Injustice seems to be the one with the lowest numbers that people complain about the most. So I was just wondering, are they releasing these patches in good heart and saying, we want to make this game better, or is it just kind of them patching glitches and saying, sorry that guy can walk through walls. We didn't mean the game to be like that.
No, I mean, how many times can you nerf Superman? He's Superman. But, I mean, they've got a really good team behind that one. NetherRealms has definitely always worked really hard to get their games. I just think that for them, unfortunately, they've got a bit of a hill to climb. It's I find a lot of people find the game a little bit janky on the movement, and that's what keeps a lot of people from playing. But it's a fantastic game, don't get me wrong. I love watching Injustice. I love when Mortal Kombat was still around and before Injustice. It was a fantastic game to watch, very exciting. But no, I think patches are really important at this point in terms of the fighting game community. And I don't know so much for the esports world if that's changed so much, but the advent of the internet, because the fighting game community has been around for so long, the advent of the internet, YouTube, social media has just changed the entire outlook on the fighting game community, because the games, they come out day one now, and some characters got an infinite. Someone's found it within the first 24 hours. Even that, it's like day -2 when a game comes out. The game's not even officially out yet. Someone's got a hacked Xbox, and they figured out some infinite or another. And that's fairly normal at this point in the fighting game community. Before, it used to be, it's like you would travel to different arcades just to see what tricks other people have, because it's like, I'm going to steal that and use that at home and beat all the people at home with that trick, right? We used to live in a world where people kept secrets. It's like they would learn techniques and they would keep it from everyone. And now it's like, no, you know what? It's like, I found this really cool trick. I'm going to post it on the internet, YouTube, to get hits, and that's how it works now. Now everybody knows. It's not like, back in the day when they discovered role canceling in Capcom versus SNK2, that changed the entire game. And I remember the first time someone saw it, the guy won I think the guy won the tournament just because he had found that glitch in the game.
Wow.
And nobody knew how to do it because it essentially made you able to go through fireballs and everything. So it was what we would call a game-breaking glitch, but instead of breaking the game, it changed the entire game for the better. So, but that took a couple of years to find. Now, if that were to happen, you'd probably find it in the first week.
As someone who's run and attended events for a long, long time, since you're an old man, do you notice when a new game comes out, is there that increased attendance, both between new IPs like Injustice and also just kind of updates and newest versions like Marvel 3 and Street Fighter 4?
Definitely, absolutely. Anytime especially when you get new versions of a game that's already out, like Ultra Street Fighter 4 or Ultimate Marvel, you will see a lot of people coming out of the woodworks who played at the beginning and then found that they were getting clobbered in the tournaments, and they're just like, okay, I don't have any interest in this anymore. But those, you'll get a resurgence of those people. Some will stick around, some won't. But no, definitely patches have a big play on tournament numbers. I've seen patches revive games straight out of the blue. Other times, not so much. I think Cross Tekken is a big example of that. I think the game as it is right now is really good. I play it on the weekly. I love the game. But that initial release that wasn't very good, pre-patch, killed a lot of interest from a lot of people. So that's one end of the scale. There are other games, the patch comes out and everyone just loves the game.
Because that always happens. As someone in StarCraft, that never happens.
But it's like patches it's hard because people like to play what they know, right?
Well, yeah, and you ruin that. There's a quarter of the people using this one, not glitch, but OP thing, and then it gets nerfed. Well, now you have a quarter of your player base pissed off and don't know how to play the game anymore. So Vince, just run me down again the East Coast Championships stream. Where can we watch? Schedule, things like that. If I want to come and play, where do I show up?
Okay, so if you want to come and play, you've missed the pre-register. It's a pre-register only. It closed last night at 12 a.m.
So I should cancel my flight. That's what you're saying.
However, you can, if you still want to play, you can register in person at ANC on Wednesday, and they will take your registration there in person. However, online registrations are closed at this time. So once again, the tournament is at the Holiday Inn Yorkdale. That's at 3450 Dufferin Street in Toronto. That's right across the street from Yorkdale Mall. That's a huge mall. There's lots of stuff to do there, and it's close to the TTC, which is our public transport here in Toronto. And it's a $35 registration fee. If you just come in to watch, you can pay $10 and get in the door the day of. But it's going to be an interesting weekend. We got teams on Friday, once again at ANC Games. If you want to come check that out, you can come get your, once again, it's $10 at the door. And we start that at 7 o'clock with Street Fighter 4 Arcade Edition teams, all the way up to top 2. And Marvel starts shortly after that as well. And of course, Saturday we start at 11 a.m. With Street Fighter 4 and Ultimate Marvel on the mainstream at twitch.tv/Toronto Top Tiers. And of course, we're going to start at 12 with KOF on the secondary stream, which is Toronto Top Tiers 2. That's on Twitch. And Sundays is all going to be finals.
Fantastic. Now, Mike, we have another fighting tournament going on at the same time. Frag for Cancer 8 in Halifax. Jabali's going to be there in attendance. We got Marvel, we got Street Fighter. I think that's it for fighting games, right?
Yeah, so just Street Fighter and Marvel, and then Dota,
Yeah.
League of Legends, StarCraft.
We don't care about those, just fighting games.
Just fighting games, okay. Yeah, Street Fighter and Marvel.
What sort of friendly competition can we have between the East Coast Championships and Frag for Cancer? Any ideas?
That's a great question. Well, I think most of the people from Toronto will go to Toronto's event.
Yeah.
Most of the people from the Maritimes will go to the Maritimes event. The interesting thing I want to see is, where does Montreal go? Will Montreal go to CECC, or will Montreal come to Frag for Cancer 8? I mean, you can win cash money in Toronto, but you can win a free trip to CEO 2014 if you go to Frag for Cancer 8.
Ooh.
If you win AE or Marvel.
I'll just put it out there for the few that are actually sponsored. I think they're gonna go for the cash.
I agree.
That's true.
Because the flight's looked after anyways. But we won't go there. But I'm sure you'll get a lot of people out there from Montreal. Definitely, I think Montreal's a big province, so I think short of Montreal, who has some history here in Toronto, I think you're gonna get a lot of people from Quebec.
Who was it that came down from Montreal for Fight for Infinity, Mike?
For Fight for Infinity, we had Ramy Fu, Potato Brain's friend, Howling, come down for Fight for Infinity. And then we've had Contra from Ottawa come down as well. And then we had Magnobia come from Winnipeg to the Maritime tournament. So we've had our fair share of far traveling people come to the Maritimes for an event, but hopefully the thought of playing Jabali and beating Jabali in a tournament on stream will bring out some people. You'll also be able to play him in Dive Kick at the after party on Saturday, so come beat Jabali in Dive Kick. Use that YOLO gem.
Okay, I want to see a friendly wager here. Since we can't actually battle on stream or anything like that, and Toronto will obviously kill us in stream numbers, etc. We don't want to take that challenge. So what we will do, why don't Mike, you pick your top 3 for Street Fighter this weekend. Who's going to take it? Vince, you pick your top 3 for Street Fighter, and whoever's closest on next Monday's show, we'll look at the results, and we'll see what the winner and or loser gets. So, Mike, you want to pick your top 3 for Street Fighter?
Top 3, I'd have to put Mr. Savage Shrubber in there. I think he's actually watching the stream right now. Savage Shrubber should do well. I don't know if Psychic Steve and Old Man Rillis are coming or not. They would be two of our favorites.
Remy told me Rillis is not, but Steve is.
Okay, so Psychic Steve's in there for sure. And just to stroke Jabali's ego, I think Jabali can make top 3 if he tries hard and such.
Oh, wow. Remy said that censors that Rick's not going to be there, that he can take top 3. But
Shrub, Psychic Steve, and Jabali, I think would be top 3.
All right, Shrub, Psychic Steve, Jabali. Vince, who do you got in Toronto?
I'm gonna say, just looking from the roster here, I think Chai Rithy's gonna take first. Yeah. I think you're gonna see Snafu and K-Brad.
I think that's a good call.
All right, if you both could write down your answers, because I'm not going to. So what do we have for the winner, and what do we making the loser do? Ideas?
Vince, you coming to WCS Toronto next weekend?
Next weekend? No, I'm not. I've got a wedding.
Aww.
All weekend? It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
We'll see.
You can buy just single day tickets for $8. So.
Oh, they're $8. Okay. Well, we'll see. I don't know.
Myself and John Quinn will be there. I'll buy drinks if you show up.
There we go. I'll get a video of it for the show with the winner getting free drinks from the loser. You might.
I know. We'll see. I think it's a Sunday wedding. I'm not sure. So I'll find out, and we'll see if I can make it out.
Well, you got Friday, Saturday, and Sunday pretty much all day, all 3 days, and it's only $8-10 each day, or $30 for the weekend. So do it. Mike, any last shout-outs before I let Vince do his goodbyes?
No, if you're in the Halifax area, come into Frag for Cancer 8 at the Dalhousie Sub Building, McInnes Room on the 2nd floor. Going to be lots of people there throwing down in StarCraft, League of Legends, Dota, Street Fighter, Marvel, and the Smash Bros. Games. All money through the door, and a lot of stuff at the thing goes straight to cancer research. So we've raised almost $10,000 each year for the event, so it's obviously going to a good cause. And the prize pool is over 10 grand for Frag for Cancer 8. So even though it's all going to cancer research, you'll still get good prizes for coming in top 3 at the event. So it's definitely going to be a great event. Come out this weekend. It'll be amazing, and I'll also be in WCS Toronto the weekend after that, so come hit me up. I want to get pictures with pro StarCraft players doing Shoryukens, so you'll probably see me doing that, trying to get like pro StarCraft players to do that. But I'll be in WCS Toronto if you want to hit me up and play fighting games or whatever it may be. So, yeah. Otherwise,
we'll be
follow
in the
us.
Crown Plaza Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So.
Hey, Mike, 1st to 10 in Street Fighter 4.
Ooh, I heard a real
Against
challenge.
you? Yeah, you'll body me free, but we can do it. I'll play you in Marvel. I remember we played it at Toryuken in Marvel, and I think I beat you pretty good.
Yeah, it's been a while. I've been playing Marvel, so
Here we go.
I play 2 characters now.
Now
We
you
could
got-
do one of each, Marvel and Street Fighter, and then take total
That's okay.
game.
You're gonna
And
get
then-
the robot.
and then
with the
dive
man's
kick for the
face.
final game.
Yeah, and then dive kick
Oh,
for the
dive
final
kick.
game.
Dive
I
kick
don't play
final.
that stuff.
Oh,
Yeah,
come
me
off
neither.
it. Everyone plays that. Fantastic. Vince, any last shout-outs here before we ship it off for the night?
I'm just gonna
Try to keep it under an hour. Under an hour, please.
Definitely, if you guys can't make it to CECC this weekend, check out the stream, twitch.tv/Toronto Top Tiers, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's going to be real exciting. Definitely, I just want to give a shout-out. You know what? I don't really have any shout-outs to give, but I'm going to give shout-outs to people on the stream because they love me, and I love them. Shout-outs to Tenma, Hamilton's best King of Fighters player who's in the stream right now, the new man, and Brian Ken, the god of Persona 4 in my area. One trick pony, but but thanks everyone for tuning in. I'll definitely check out CECC this weekend. It's going to be real exciting. Follow me on Twitter at TTT_RXS. I'm going to have some stuff coming up in the next couple months, so keep your eyes peeled. It's going to be real exciting.
Fantastic. And so I will also be at Frag for Cancer 8. I'll be emceeing and hosting that all weekend long. And then I will be in WCS Toronto as well the weekend after. So come and talk to me and I'll get a picture with you. Or not, I don't care. That's it for tonight's show. Catch us next week, episode number 56. We're going to try and bring on someone from WCS Toronto, actually, to hype the event last minute. That might be next Monday or the Monday after. And, or wait, the Monday after, after the event. It'll be next Monday, hopefully. It may be Clutch. We have to ask him. But remember to tune in, twitch.tv/eSportsCanadaTV. And you can follow us facebook.com/eSportsCanada and on Twitter at eSports_Canada. Thanks.
And our hands will touch the sky. Tonight we're coming alive. And our hands will touch the sky. Tonight